There are several programs we'll use when developing iPhone applications, but they're not all equal. There is one program we will spend most of our time in. That's Xcode. Xcode is an IDE, an integrated development environment, like Visual Studio for .NET developers or Eclipse for some Java developers. This just means it does more than one thing. You organize your application in Xcode. You write your code in Xcode. You compile your applications there. You use it to test and debug your applications. You can even use it, like this welcome screen says, to find help. You have a bunch of resources you can find. You can link directly to the iPhone Dev Center. You can go across and find some tips and tricks. But at its core, Xcode is there to organize your applications. It groups your applications into what it calls projects. Projects are just a way of grouping a bunch of files together and giving them a name. When you create a new project in Xcode, I'm going to do one now, and selecting from the File menu and New Project. And this is, again, be careful to do New Project, not just New File. So it's Shift-Command-N if you like your shortcut keys, rather than just Command-N. What I'll then get is a whole bunch of available templates for creating a project. Xcode has a lot of templates, really due to the fact that it's not just used for iPhone, but also for Mac OS X development. So there's a whole bunch of Macintosh templates, but we're interested in the left-hand side in the stuff that says iPhone OS. And we really only have a few templates there. We're going to talk about pretty much all of these templates and what they do, but know that for right now, the one we're interested in is the view-based application. As we're learning Xcode and building simple applications, this is the Goldilocks project type, meaning it's not too complex, it's not too simple, it's just right. I'm going to select View-Based Application, making sure I have the iPhone OS application, and hit the Choose button. It's then going to ask me to give my project a name. I don't tend to use spaces in the project names. You do want to think about your project name when you're creating a real one, simply because this name gets used in quite a few different places. So I'm going to just say Demo Xcode. I tend to use just capitalization of multiple words, and I'm going to save it in my Documents folder. You can save it wherever you like, and I click Save. What it's done right now is create a folder under my Documents folder and put a bunch of starter files in it. In fact, if I went to look at my Documents folder, I would see here a Demo Xcode folder with a bunch of stuff inside it. And in fact, the only one that's worth talking about really right now is this one called demoxcode.xcodeproj. This is the Xcode project file. If I were to double click on that and Xcode was closed, it would pop it right open and load that project back up. So I'm going to go back into Xcode and just open this and go full screen here. Over on the left-hand side, I have this section called Groups and Files, which is really showing me what's in this project, what's in this application. And it gives me a whole bunch of folders down here. Now, the folders I see in Xcode don't exactly match the folder on the hard drive. Don't worry about that. Xcode is just giving me more ways of grouping these files than just the folders on the hard drive. And you don't have to live with Xcode suggestions. You can actually create your own, but for now we're going to leave it as is. With the project name selected over here on the left, I see a whole bunch of files on the right. If I were to drill down into any of the individual folders, I'd just see a more filtered view of the contents of this project. So the project name would show me everything, and what I'm most interested in typically is classes and resources. Classes is where I've actually got code that I'm going to edit. When I select one of those and I've single-clicked it, it will appear in the lower pane on the right-hand side. If I were to double-click it, it would just open it up in a separate window. Single-clicking is just fine. Xcode, like just about any other application, has preferences, things that you can customize about this application to make it work better for you. Now, I'm going to leave it pretty much as is, straight out of the box. The only thing I have changed is I've changed my font to make it easier to read when I'm recording. You, of course, don't need to do anything, but if you want to take a look at the options that you have there, they're under the Xcode menu, under Preferences, and there's all sorts of options for general, for debugging, for indentation, fonts and colors, that kind of stuff. So if you like customizing, you might want to take a look and see what's available here. I'm just going to cancel out of that. Once you've got your project defined, you use Xcode to write your code. Now, there's nothing really special about a code file. Your code is just text. You could open it up in a basic text editor like TextEdit and write it there. You could also punch yourself in the face all day long for the same amount of fun, because Xcode, like most other IDEs, supports you in writing your code by giving you color coding, by helping you with indentation, and by helping you out as you type with Code Sense, which is Xcode's auto-completion feature. So if I was to start to type and type the @P, it immediately thinks, oh, maybe you want to do public. No, that's actually not what I want. I'll type the letter R, and it suggests, well, perhaps you want to type private. It's actually not what I want, but as I keep typing, it fills in more and more accurately what it is I'm looking for. I don't have to accept this. I can just keep typing if I want. This is very common in most IDEs. So as I keep typing and I get used to this, I can type quite productively and quite fast. We'll cover more of this later. And for right now, if you're looking at this code and you have no idea what any of this stuff means, that's perfectly all right. Just understand that we're talking about the code coloring, the indentation, the auto-completion features. Now, there are plenty of features in Xcode that I'm not going to talk about just yet. Like other IDEs, you can connect to source code repositories, and you can even generate diagrams of your classes. So don't worry about knowing what every option does. Now is not the time for that. One of the things that we will use is from the Help menu. There is a documentation option. We're going to cover more about this later, but know that you will certainly get very, very friendly with this window of documentation. Some people kind of treat it as if you have to look at the documentation, you've somehow failed. You're looking up the manual. You should know this all in your head. This just isn't relevant. You're going to be using this documentation all the time. In fact, quite a large part of what I want to do with this course is make sure you're very, very comfortable with finding the things you need through documentation. So we'll cover lots of shortcuts and ways to get through this document, and we'll see that a little later. Now, one thing that might be different from what you expect is that many other programming IDEs also have a section for building visual user interfaces. Xcode does not. We use Interface Builder for that. So with Xcode, you're going to get a full environment for creating your projects, writing, testing, and debugging your iPhone applications. Later, we're going to explore what's really going on under the hood, but for now, just expect that you'll get to know this program really, really well.